What's going on, everybody? Today I'm back with my Week 4 NFL rankings. I'm just going to be continuing from last week. So every week I'm just going to build upon these rankings. Let me know in the comments down below what I got wrong for this week. And we're going to start with the Dolphins. They're not going to be changing. I'm honestly going to be starting with all four of these teams. All these contenders are going to be staying in this tier. The Dolphins looked incredible. I actually picked them to win the AFC East this year, barring a Tua injury, and I think that stays the same. They look great. They're going to be in a lot of shootouts this season. I don't think their defense is amazing, but their offense is, and it's going to be a lot of high-scoring games. I can't wait. I'm going to be at the Dolphins-Eagles game in Week 7. That's going to be incredible. But Dolphins staying in here. San Fran as well. They've just dominated everybody they played. I know the Rams was a bit of a close game, but they look great on offense. They were missing Ayuk on Thursday night when they played, so it's been a while since they played, almost a week, but they looked great. Eagles looked great again. Their passing offense is still lacking behind where it was before, but their running game looks so good. Their defense looks incredible. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are the best defensive tackles, combo in the league. I know it's early, but they've dominated every single game. Their defensive line looks great. I expect their defensive line to just harass Sam Howell this week. They're staying there. And then the Chiefs as well. I know the Chiefs lost to the Lions. I understand that. They have a loss. They're not undefeated. It's still the Chiefs. You still have Andy Reid. In that loss, they did not have Kelsey or Chris Jones. So that's different for the weeks following, and they're going to stay there. First team to move is the Cowboys. I'm going to put them in playoff teams. That was a bad loss. That was a really bad loss that good teams just can't lose to. You just can't lose that game. They seem unprepared. That's just what they didn't look ready. They didn't look like they wanted to play there. They got pushed around by the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm going to put them in playoff teams. I still think they compete for the NFC East against the Eagles. I know they play the Eagles well. Losing Trevon Diggs is a big loss, though. He's their second or third best player on defense. So that's an unfortunate loss. But injuries are going to happen to every single team. I'm going to keep him in playoff team. The Bengals. I'm 1 week away from putting them in potential wild card. I'm only going to keep them up here because they have a history of starting slow with Joe Burrow. I think he's 1-7 in the first 2 weeks of the season in his career. He looked bad again against the Rams. He has not played well at all this season, and he's had a fairly easy schedule. I mean, they played the Browns, so their defense is good, but their offense isn't. And who did they play last week? They played the Browns, Rams. Was it the Ravens? They lost to the Ravens as well. I don't know. They haven't looked good. I'm going to keep them here, but I don't know who they play next week, but this week, that's going to be a big game for them. The Saints, I'm going to drop in a potential wild card. I had the Saints winning the South this year, but if Derek Carr is out for an extended period of time, say 5 to 7 weeks, I don't think they're going to survive that. It's not the 49ers losing Brock Purdy. It's the Saints. You blew that game. You were up 17-0, and you blew that one. You could have gone to 3-0. I think 3-0 they could have gone to. Anyway, I don't think Jameis Winston keeps you in the lead in the South, especially. I mean, the Falcons and I'm pretty sure the entire South lost this past weekend, so you're not behind. But I think the Bucks, maybe the Falcons are better if you have Jameis Winston. So I'm gonna bump them down to potential wild card. The Ravens. If I'm keeping the Bengals here, I'm going to keep the Ravens. It was a bad loss, but the Ravens are depleted on both sides of the ball due to injury. But like I said, it is an excuse, but every team's going to deal with it. It's just luck. It's luck. It happens every year to the Ravens, though, so I don't know how. They get so unlucky. I'm going to keep them here. Really bad loss. They're still 2-1. Yeah, I'm going to have to see it for another week. Lions, keeping them here. They played well. They beat the Falcons. Right? Yeah, it was the Falcons. Right? Who did the Lions play? Why can't I remember who the Lions played? I think they played the Falcons, and they beat them 20-6. Pretty boring game. I expected the Lions to win that. I still think they win the North, so I'm going to keep them a playoff team. The Bills, I'm going to move them up to contender. The Bills looked fucking great. That's back-to-back weeks. They look unstoppable. They played a decent team in Washington Commanders as well and dominated them. It was a bad week one, left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, but I think the Bills are back, and I'm going to keep them in Super Bowl contender. The Jags, I got to bump them down. They look awful. The Jaguars lost to the... Oh, why can't I remember who they played? I was about to say the Texans, but that was 2 weeks ago. Right? Hold up, I gotta look this up. Never mind, it was the Texans. So they did play the Texans. All right, I thought that was 2 weeks ago. They got slaughtered. It was a really bad game. Jags have looked bad in back-to-back weeks. I'm gonna keep them in potential wild card. So that'll bring me to the Chargers. I guess I'll keep them in potential wild card. They won the Midfest against the Vikings to avoid an 0-3 start. Yeah, I don't think they're great. They just lost Mike Williams for the entire season, which is a big loss. They didn't have Eckler in that game. He'll be back. But they're definitely not going to win the AFC West. So I'm going to have a potential wild card. Vikings, I'm going to bump them down to missing playoffs. You're 0-3. You can't start 0-3. I don't know who they play this weekend, but I mean, if they're 0-4, they're mediocre at best. Is where I'm going to drop. I'm going to have to drop them down again. Yeah, there's not much to say. They're 0-3. Their defense is killing them. Kirk Cousins had a choke job of an interception at the end on the goal line to win the game. I mean, it's not his fault they lost. They're fumbling. He's putting up big numbers. Justin Jefferson's putting up big numbers, but the team is just losing. The Rams, I'll keep them in potential wild card. They played the Bengals pretty good. I guess their defense looked good. It was on the road, so it's a tough game. I still think they maybe get in. They could definitely go for the 7 seed. I'm going to see how they are the next couple of weeks, but I was actually surprised at their start for the season so far, so I'm going to leave them in there. And they haven't had an easy schedule either. So I think they deserve that. The Bucks, I'm going to keep them potential wild card. I know I'm not going to have an NFC South team and playoff team because none of them look solidified. I mean, the Saints I would have kept there if Derek Carr didn't get hurt. The Bucks got stomped by the Eagles, but the Eagles are the class of the NFC, so that's expected. That was like a measuring stick game. If you're a Bucks fan, that one you use just to see how good you are. Because I know you were 2-0, but you played bad teams. You actually played teams that haven't won a game yet. I think they'll be better. I mean, their offense, I think, will be better. Mike Evans looked great. It's just a tough game against the Eagles. Packers, I'm tempted to put them in playoff team. I'm gonna keep them in potential wild card because I do think the Lions are better. Well, we're gonna see tomorrow on Thursday because they play each other. So that'll be a big one to determine seeding going on for the season. Sort of like another measuring stick game to see how, because these two are the ones competing for the NFC North. So that's a good game to sort of measure out how close you guys are to each other and just sort of where you are at the season. So I'm going to keep them a potential wild card. And that game's a big one for next weekend's rankings. Falcons, once again, I'm going to keep them here. They did lose to the Lions, but the Lions are a better team. It was on the road. Desmond Ridder looked awful. Bijan didn't get much going. Their defense played pretty well. I mean, you only let up 20 points to the Lions. It's pretty good. Your offense didn't show up. You only scored 6 points. But it's a young team. I'm going to keep them potential wildcard once again because the South is wide open. Any of these 3 teams can make it. I really believe that. But they're not on this tier with these teams, so I'm going to keep them here. Seattle, I want to put them in playoff teams. I think they're 2-1, right? I'm going to put them in playoff teams. I think Seattle's playing really well. Their defense is suspect. But their offense looks great. I picked them to make the playoffs. I really do think they're going to get the 5 or 6 seed. They have a pretty easy division outside of the Niners. You get to play. Well, the Rams are there, but you do play the Cardinals. You play the NFC, so you got the Giants coming up. I think they make the playoffs, and I think they're on the same tier as these teams. The Patriots, I am going to keep them a potential wild card. I was going to bump them playoff team, but their offense looked bad. You did play the Jets. They're a good defense. I get it. So I'm not going to bump them down, but I'm also not going to bump them up. I think the New England defense is legit. I would have liked to see more from the offense. But I've been saying for weeks, this team, they had a tough start to the season. You played the Eagles, the Dolphins, and the Jets. The schedule's only going to get easier. You're 2-1. No, you're 1-2 is their first win. But they played the Dolphins and Eagles well. It was a one-score game, both of them. They had the ball in the fourth quarter, final drive to win the game, and they didn't, but they've still surprised me. Washington, I'm going to have them missing the playoffs. They looked awful. They lost 37-3 against the Bills. They got the Eagles. I think they're on the road in Philly. I'll be at the stadium. I'm not going to be in the game though for that one. 1 o'clock game. The Eagles defensive line is going to harass them. Had them losing that one. Have them going 2-2. They started good. They did play. Who was it? The Cardinals and the Broncos, who are also, well, Cardinals actually won, so not all winless, but they had 2 easy games, and now they got 2 tough games. But the distance between them and the top tier is so wide, so I can't have a potential wild card right now. I'll see how they look on Sunday, but for right now, I have them missing the playoffs. The Browns, I'm going to have a potential wild card. Browns actually looked pretty good. Their defense, I believe, is statistically #1 in the league. I shamefully picked the Titans to win the game on Sunday, but it was only because they lost Nick Chubb, and their offense looked horrendous against the Steelers without Nick Chubb. Deshaun Watson still, I know you've all seen the throw where he throws it 20 yards behind him when he's getting sacked. Stuff like that, just like, they're not on this tier. Their defense is incredible. I thought the Browns are going to be pretty good this season. Their roster's really good. So I said I had them having a pretty good season, but I still had them taking 4th in the North. Just because the AFC North is so competitive. But I still think they could make the playoffs, potential wild cards. It's going to be interesting to see how their offense plays in the next couple of weeks, but for now, I'll have them here. The Giants, I'll have them missing the playoffs. They don't look good. They were one miraculous comeback win against the Cardinals from being 0-3. They are hosting the Seahawks this weekend. This is a big game for them. You can't start 1-3 in the NFC East, especially when you haven't played the Eagles yet. It's a tough one. Hopefully Saquon's back. I don't know what his injury status is. Hopefully Andrew Thomas is back, because those are 2 big key injuries and missing pieces, but their offense looks horrible. Even with Saquon, it looks disgusting. They looked good against the Arizona Cardinals, who are maybe the worst team in the league, but I'm going to keep them. The Raiders as well, I'm going to have them missing playoffs. Raiders lost to the Steelers this week, 23-18 at home. They don't look good. I mean, Devontae Adams looks great. Josh Jacobs doesn't look like his old self. Their line's not very good. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't look good. It's just a mediocre team. Steelers, I'll put them in potential wild card. If I have the Browns there, I gotta have the Steelers. Steelers are 2-1. I think the entire AFC North, except for the Bengals, are 2-1. Steelers defense looks great. The offense does not, which is what's going to limit them. I just have them at best a wild card team. I don't think they win the AFC North. But they're fighting. They're still there, so I'm going to have them in potential wild card. Colts, or Jets. I'm going to have the Jets missing the playoffs. They look awful. And if they're going to keep riding with Zach Wilson, you're throwing your season away. He's been there for 3 years. You know who he is. He's not going to come in and be some all-pro next week. Like, you know what you have with Zach Wilson. It kind of just seems like they don't want to get rid of him because they wasted such a high draft pick on him. They were talking him up this summer. There was a lot of Jets fans in New York media saying that once Rodgers is done this year, in 2 years, you're going to throw in Zach Wilson. He's going to be great. No, like he's not. He's not great. You're wasting your season by throwing him out there, and I'm going to have them missing the playoffs because you can't waste weeks in the NFL. Colts, I'm going to have potential wild card. And they could potentially win the AFC South. They look good. Steichen looks good. They just beat the Ravens in overtime. They're 2-1. They're leading the South right now, especially with the Jags starting slow. I'm going to have the Colts in potential wild card. They look good. Broncos suck. Throw them down there. I'm going to keep the Panthers up here. Hard-fought games this week. I actually think, they just played Seattle. They lost. It was Andy Dalton's start. And I think they put up 4 touchdowns, 28 points. They lost like 28, 27, or 37. They're 0-3, I know, but they're still better than this tier. Titans, I want to throw them in this tier so bad because they looked really bad, but I still think they're better than those teams. They did get smoked by the Browns, so I'm going to keep them down here. And just for the sake of it, I'll put the Cardinals in front of these teams. Oh, wait, and the Texans. Yeah, no. Still number one pick contention. But all four of these teams are mediocre. I'm not even going to talk about them. But those are going to be my week 4 rankings. This went on a little longer than I wanted it to. But once again, let me know what I got wrong in the comments below. And I'll see you guys for my week 4 predictions on Friday. Thanks for watching.